has been paid for by the Celtic world order.
Good evening. Shocker, innit? Breaking news. Celtic have just found ourselves in what's been a very topsy-turvy, up and down, back and forward season. Suddenly, we're 3 points clear with the same amount of games played. Unbelievable, Jeff. Just a wee short one here tonight because, as I say, it's a breaking news thing. And you know what? This is what we're all about here at CW, where possible. And if something's happening, something's interesting, something is pertinent to things surrounding Celtic in this league challenge, then we will be here and we will make sure that we come out and provide the content. Because, in case you didn't already know, in case you were somehow ignoring it, living under a rock, well, that game, you know, the one that's been put off twice, the one that had all the drama, all the furore around it. It finally get played. Rangers finally went to Dundee and they were able to play. And as it says there, well, Celtic find themselves at the end of that game 3 points cleared because guess what? Rangers, at this moment in time, it appears, 8 games, 2 wins from those. Well, the pair of looks as if they've got 99 problems, but a pitch is not one because it was Rangers 0, Dundee 0. So anyway, welcome to Celtic World Order. And again, listen, it's a wee pop-up show, but as I will do and I will continue to do, we've got to do a wee bit of housekeeping, and that is to say that right now, Celtic World Order's operation is small, but if you want to support this channel, you want to get behind the guys, help us reach more fans out there, then you know what to do. It takes you 2 seconds. Just if you like and you're enjoying the content, you like what you see, you like what you hear, then please do subscribe to us. Hit that subscribe button. That means every time that we go live with some content, you will get notified. If you like what you're doing, give it a thumbs up, and it goes without saying. If you want to help us out just that wee bit more, then you can share our content. It just gets more eyeballs in, it gets more fans here, and you know what? That's what it's all about, growing this community. If you want to support us elsewhere, we are on X and it's at CWO Pod 1888. You also find me, Paddy, and there'll be another surprise coming up soon. Personal handles on there if you want to connect with the guys that are on the show. And finally, we're also on Facebook, and that's at Celtic World Order Podcast. So, as I say, that is it. It's out the way. I don't know what everyone thinks about it out there. You know, we sat there, myself, Liam and Paddy the other night, we spoke about the post-split fixtures, and this one in particular is going to be very pertinent because Dundee, after we get that semi-final out the way at the weekend, that is our first game. So, if you were watching, what did you think of it? I'm not going to lie, I'm not ashamed to say it. I was watching, and as we said, because as we said the other night, you know what? See, in this league race where it's so close, where it's nip and tuck, and let's face it, I'm invested in Scottish football. That's what I like, and I will be watching teams around us. I would rather go and watch a Scottish football game than a Premier League match. Maybe that's just me, but you have to keep one eye on the teams that are around you and who you're playing, and particularly after our nearest rivals dropped some points away in the Highlands, this game was always going to kick up something. And I'm going to get this in early because the brother is here. Oh, you didn't know? Well, David, I think it's Mr. Clement who's asked better call somebody. Because, well, it's getting interesting, is it not? And we'll go on to that. So it's not exactly a breakdown of the Rangers match, but I do want to look a wee bit at what we saw in the opponents they faced in Dundee. First things first, let's get down to that pitch. Don't know about yourselves out there. Let me hear your thoughts on it. What did you think about it? Personally, you know, all right, in some patches it looked a wee bit like Helensburgh Beach, but for the rest of it, I actually thought the pitch didn't look too bad. The ball was moving freely. I actually looked, in, dare I say it, in some sections, it looked better than Celtic Park. Yeah, I know, shoot me, but I'm just calling it as I saw it. So that can't be used as an excuse, can it? Because it's It wasn't exactly a distraction. It was completely playable. It was called on early and they got out there and done it. Does this just fall back to what myself, Liam, and Paddy were talking about the other night? Is this more about mental strength? Is this more about a team and a manager on the edge and on the slide? But first, let's forget about them just for 1 second. Let's just shelve that because Dundee have got to be given their credit, have they not? And I want to know, what did anybody out there that was sitting watching, what did you think of Dundee? Because as I says, yes, we have a semi-final at the weekend coming up, but our first league game back is away to Dundee. The pitch, as we said the other night, we were questioning it, and it looks as if, you know what, that shouldn't be a problem if going by tonight was anything to judge off of. But if we actually look at Dundee for a man, I thought they were fantastic. And I think that they showed enough there that they're a team that we should really be not taking for granted. I asked the question to the guys the other night, I says, do you think Dundee is that one that you're worried about? And it was a resounding no, we should take care of it. Paddy was going as far as to say that should be a team that we should be handing out a heavy beating to and getting some points and goals on the board. And as far as points and goals on the board go, that result tonight leaves us not only 3 points ahead in this title race, but also 6 goals positive in the goal difference bracket, which, as we know, they can be worth points should it get down to that sort of hairy backside sort of situation. And we've maybe not seen that in a long time, but you never know. This has been a strange season. But yep, looking at the team, Tony Docherty, as we said the other night when we were talking about the teams, Dundee are a surprise package. And if I do say so myself, I'd actually go as far to say that Tony Docherty has to be in the equation for manager of the season. People might scoff at that, but let's be honest, they're freshly up. Usually the team that comes up are odds-on favourites, are they not, to go straight back down. They managed to get themselves into the top 6, and now they're actually sitting just a few points behind St Mirren, ahead of them in 5th. So they went from a team with nothing to lose to a team that could actually be pushing for a European spot. Now, what does that mean? How's that going to manifest itself for us? Because there was this notion tonight when they went into that game that, well, they've done the job, they've made the top 6. And I believe it was a certain Mr. Clement who was almost saying, yeah, pressure's off them, as if that was some sort of, you know, benefit to Rangers that the pressure was off them. When in fact, it worked the opposite way. What we saw was a team that were playing freely. They were playing without stress. They were doing what they wanted to do. Now, they weren't exactly the most cutting edge team, the most attack minded team, but they did give Rangers enough that we should, at least at the back of our mind, be sort of looking at that game. And if we weren't already taking it serious and seeing it for what it is, it's a team that are riding the crest of a wave. It's a team that are full of confidence, and it's a team that still very much have a lot to play for. You know, if we look at some of their guys tonight, as early as 1 minute on, their striker Bakayoko's causing problems for what we identified the other night as a very shaky Rangers defence. And it was that famous award-winning Hall of Fame captain once again caught out Andy's ultra slow sidekick of Connor Goldson, letting him in behind, and he gets a shot off, an early shot across the brows. As the game goes on a wee bit sort of further, again, Butland comes to their rescue once again. Unfortunately for them, Tiffany's offside. Then the ball's in the net. That is it. The ball's in the net. You know, they have got deficiencies, they've got weaknesses, but Dundee are doing enough. And as I say, look across their team. There's guys in there that we should be looking at. There's guys that we should be taking seriously. We've often looked at where we have our deficiencies at the back, certainly down the left-hand side with the Taylor. Sometimes it's Scales. It was Nawrocki. Unlikely he's going to play, so it's more than likely going to be Welsh. But guys like Bakayoko putting herself about, and also guys like Tiffany getting the crosses in, going down the wing. Good speed, these are guys that we shouldn't be taking lightly from what I saw. And then if we move further into midfield, you've got Boateng. He looked solid. He looked robust. He looked energetic. You know, what do you think? This is a team that are very much dangerous. We're not here to gloat. As I say, it's a breaking wee sort of story. And yeah, do you know what? Let's enjoy it for what it is, but let's also not get ahead of ourselves here, because it's one game at a time. But what a bounce, what a lift out of nowhere, back to back, that we've got. You look at their team, and I asked the question to Liam, I asked the question to Paddy, and I says, are we seeing a decline in Rangers? Brendan said, this is the time that we kick on. This is the time where we come into life. These championship rounds, Celtic push on. Celtic get the job done. We've seen that against St Mirren. After a sticky, boring, lacklustre, no shots on target first half, Rodgers comes out with the team. We kick on, 3 goals. And actually an interesting little tidbit that I got from a friend that works in at Celtic Park actually told me that at half time, very uncharacteristically, he had heard Brendan Rodgers reading the riot act to the team, describing it as being, and I quote, I've never ever heard the man go off his nut before, but he was putting a rocket up them. And it certainly worked. What about the other side? Don't know if you saw it. We saw a post-match interview from a manager who's told us that he's not a mathematician, that his team tonight, surprised, he thought his team done everything right. They just couldn't put the ball in the box. They couldn't put the ball in the net. This is all these kind of signs that we've got to look at in this title charge. We're looking for mental weaknesses and where to strike. And this doesn't sound like a man, as I said previously the other night. People don't like Rodgers. They maybe call him perhaps arrogant, egotistical. No, he's a man that's calm. He believes in himself. He believes in his ability. He believes in his team. He believes in his system. And in the opposite side, we've got a guy who's gone down that Pedro Caixinha, that second-hand car salesman, Michael Beale route. After tonight, has that ketchup bottle, not only is it empty, but is the bottle dropped and smashed? Because 3 points suddenly looks like a gaping chasm now, does it not? Tim comes in here and he makes a very good point here. As I've asked, Dundee will be a tough test, so hopefully no injuries at the weekend. We're playing against a Aberdeen side that we've got a fairly good record at. Hopefully if we can get Cal McGregor back into some sort of full match fitness for the run-in, then we should be in a good position. And as he says, we've got to keep our eyes on the prize. It's one game at a time, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It is what it is. As Patrick's saying there, it simply is another wee boost. Nothing more, nothing less. But we heard it in the crowd, didn't we? We heard those boos. It's going to be a long journey home for those fans. Could it be some, what's it to say, bear-on-bear action? Certainly, as you'd imagine, the social media platforms are blowing up something crazy. So we've got to take hope for this tonight, but also, I keep saying this, we've got to look at that Dundee United team. We've got to look at Tony Dockett. We've got to look at what these guys have achieved, and we've got to take them seriously. The one thing that I would say about Dundee, though, they were very robust, they were very compact, they were very well drilled and organised, and I compared them the other night to the likes of a St Mirren or a Motherwell, similar in the style of play, similar in the way that they set up, similar ethos for the manager, but they still do try to do the right things. They try to utilise the channels, they try to cross the ball in, they try to take advantage of the wee bit of speed that they've got for the likes of guys with Tiffany and also Bakayoko, who's making himself a nuisance. So these are things that we need to take serious. The one thing, however, what did they get chance-wise? Well, they get 7 chances against Rangers and only 1 shot on target. And yes, they did have a goal cut off, but that doesn't count. So with the Rangers side that we've seen recently, who are very open, they're getting people, allowing them those runs in behind, those channels that we spoke about previously when we previewed the game against Rangers, and ahead of that, when we looked at how the result against Ross County panned out. Teams don't necessarily get that same level of exposure, that same amount of chances against us, but we need to have one eye on it. But an interesting thing for me was the defensive side of Dundee's game. Very solid. Their goalkeeper played a blinder. There is absolutely no doubt that he was worth that point to them on his own. But another thing was their defensive stats. They won 20 aerial duels into the box. We know that Rangers, I call it chaos ball. They get the ball 3/4 of the pitch up and they punt one into the centre, hoping that something comes off. That's something that I don't think we need to worry about when we go to play Dundee, because that has never really been our game. Cross balls at high level for aerial duels aren't what we play to. So that's that. Take it as you find it, because it's very impressive and it shows how resolute they were against the Rangers team, that's all they've got. But this is where we need to take advantage, is it not, of our ground game. We are known for intricate, quick, sharp, intelligent passing. I think the way to get around this team is to play around them, is to expose their weaknesses, get in behind and convert. Paddy was asking the question. I put it to him. I says, when we get into this running, do we need to look at different teams? Do we need to call it, horses for courses? We expect Dundee to be big and we expect them to be physical. Do we go with Adam Ida? But now when we look at that aerial threat, maybe that's not the route to go down, is it? Because they certainly had Rangers snowed. They had that covered tonight. But again, what do you guys think of Adam Ida? He's certainly not a one-trick pony. So is there still a wee bit of room to go around looking at what they did achieve? Dundee, not only were they winning the aerial duels, but they were quite strong in the tackle. Their defenders were able to shirk off any attacks that came their way with very little ease. So with Ida's hold-up play and his strength, is that going to be, in your opinion, your thoughts, is that going to be a better tact to go with? Playing it into his feet, allowing it to hold off, hopefully, keeping these strong defenders at bay and getting his shot away for the goal? Or do we go with what we've known, tried and tested? Do we go with trying to be cute, trying to be intelligent, trying to be smart, and playing the likes of Kyogo on his own, albeit it hasn't exactly been at his shining best lately? But one thing he is good at doing is getting in behind big, labouring defenders, blindsiding them and putting the ball away. There's a lot to think about. I'm not going to stay much longer. As I says, I've got a penciled in marathon of social media pain to get eaten through. So, yeah, I know, I'm terrible at it. But as I says, you got to enjoy these things, because, as we said the other night when we were talking after the Ross County result, yeah, do you know what? That's what football fandom is, isn't it? It's about having a laugh sometimes. No one at Celtic World Order, certainly not myself, as much as I'm savouring this moment for every single ounce of glory that is presenting me. I'm not ignorant, I'm not foolish, and I'm certainly not stupid. We've seen enough this season from Celtic to know that nothing's guaranteed. And it's sometimes a wee bit galling when you actually look at where we were, how far ahead we were, that we now found ourselves in a title race that never should have been. Of course, when it mattered, we've put ourselves into overdrive. We were able to get a result. It should have been 3 points. We all know that, against Rangers. But fortune shone upon us. An opportunity's been given. A door's been open. It's now time for Celtic to walk through that door. The weekend, the cup, what do you think of it? We want to win the cup. Of course we do. We want to get that back in the cabinet. But after tonight, even before tonight, you might not share this sentiment, but does a cup seem... It just seems a wee bit questionable to me. It doesn't... The importance of it at this moment in time, certainly to me, it's nowhere near compared to the next 3 games. Now, there's 5 games to go, but I say 3 because if we can take care of Dundee and if we can put down a marker in the one game that Rangers will expect us to drop points, and that's against Hearts, a team that we have really struggled against and we have lost to on 2 occasions, one being at home. If we can take care of those 2 games, I certainly believe that the game at Celtic Park in the Glasgow Derby against Rangers will more than take care of itself. And after that, well, the job's done, isn't it? Because you're not, no matter what land you live in, no matter where your headspace is at, I simply cannot see if we get 3 wins, I can't see us losing to Kilmarnock. And I certainly can't see us losing to St Mirren at home on the last day of the season. Not just lose, but lose by a significant goal margin. We'll see. In the fullness of time, we will see. But my confidence levels right now are certainly high. And if it wouldn't have been just for how we are playing, it's from seeing firsthand the fragilities of our nearest rivals. We've all seen the social media clips. We've all seen the commentary where they say, look at their faces at Pans, Goldson, Tavernier, Lawrence, Lundstrom, chalk white, hands in their head in their hands, eyeballing, arguing. We saw a wee bit more of that tonight. There's fragilities afoot at Rangers. Their manager is rambling. Their manager is seeing things that weren't even there. Whereas we keep our counsel, continuing with the positive message. And well, that's going to take care of itself, isn't it? 3 points ahead. Big opportunity. It's time to kick on, isn't it? I think the saying was, let's get down to business. So, this is a wee short one. Just wanted to have a mull over, share a couple of thoughts, a couple of musings, if you will, about which was a very interesting night and certainly one that I didn't see coming. So if you maybe did see it coming and you were brave enough, bold enough to put your money where your mouth was, and you maybe put on that bet. I've had a few boys that have sent me that one and they're celebrating tonight. Then I say to you, well done. Absolutely enjoy it. And more to the point, enjoy the rest of the night. Enjoy this wee moment. But remember that it is just a moment in time in this season. And this season has been nothing short of extraordinary for the good and the bad. Time to kick on. Thanks again for joining us. Anyway, I just want to say to everyone before I go away, thanks for all the support that you've had. Celtic World Order, we've only now done about 9 videos. We've only been on the go for just under 2 weeks. And I am absolutely privileged and eternally grateful for the 100 people that we were able to get to subscribe. We hit our first 100 subscribers today. Now, I know that seems like absolute chump change to some of the bigger boys out there in the podcasting world, but you've got to try and start small. You know, you can only crawl first before you can walk, let alone run. So if anybody's enjoying this content, I encourage you, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and share it. Because an interesting thing when we have a look at our content is that still there's 40% of you people out there that are watching these videos that haven't subscribed. 40% is a lot. Let's get those numbers ramped up. Let's get more eyeballs coming in. Let's get more fans supporting the channel and getting in here. We'll be here constantly. We'll be putting out more content. We'll be back at the weekend. We'll be looking towards that big semi-final against Aberdeen. And then, of course, you'll be getting the reaction almost immediately thereafter. We're pushing on. We're in line at the moment. We're in a pole position, firmly at the top of the league, 3 points ahead. It is well and truly in our hands. It is ours to lose. There's also in the back burner the potential of a double. We've got to take care of the semi first, but let's try and do that. Let's march on. And who knows, at this rate, that final that some folk thought was going to be almost a stick-on against Rangers, Well, it doesn't quite look as if it's going to be that way right now, does it? There's a big question mark over that. And if ever there was a time for Hearts to actually do something against the Rangers side, then it's got to be this weekend, hasn't it? I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm sure everybody else out there will be too. So anyway, thanks again for joining me. A wee short one, and we'll catch up again throughout the rest of the week. Take care of yourself and enjoy social media.